Alright, this is part 2 of Fright Night, in-depth horror discussion review. We're breaking down scene by scene. Alright, so we left off with now.
After he met up with Evil Ed, his friend, he told him how to defend a vampire. Even though he's a hardcore 80s horror fan, he should know how to defend a vampire.
So cut from that, we forgot to say in the last part, or in part 1, no. So cut from that when he gets home and he's nailing the window shut upstairs, and then he gets called downstairs because his mom invited, the vampire over.
And he's like,
so anyways.
Also, he can't enter your room unless you invite him. And then so, of course, his mom invites him over.
Like,
hey,
he's a nice guy. And the vampire's like, I'll come over anytime, Jerry. And he's like, as long as that's okay with you, miss. And she's like, oh yeah, she's a nice guy.
So
she's like, it's good that someone interesting finally came into the neighborhood.
So then it cuts to that night.
So then it cuts to that night, and he's freaking staying awake, like all scared and shit.
Oh, and they play an awesome 80s electro beat.
Nah, and he hears something. He hears a noise, so he goes downstairs with the cross, and he's freaking looking around. It's filler of him walking around for like a minute. But then it cuts to freaking the vampire. Jerry's already upstairs, like in his mom's room. Like looking at his mom, like thinking she's like a yummy, tasty treat or something.
Yeah, so then
he walks out.
They end up in his room.
Nah, he walks out and freaking shuts the door and like breaks it so the mom, if she woke up, she couldn't come out. So then he runs into Jerry.
And then they start fighting, and no, that's when he reveals that he is a vampire to him. But then he's just like, you know how much trouble you caused me? Almost disturbing my sleep this afternoon.
He's like, he's like calling the cops on me.
It's tight dialogue for a vampire.
He's like bringing cops to my house. He's like, and disturbing my sleep in the middle of the day.
Oh, then he tries to stop him with like the mini cross that he has to defend himself when the guy, and he like
just
incinerates
squeezes his hands and makes him drop it. Nah, and then freaking, and then he turns into the vampire with the dope freaking 80s mask, like tight makeup.
He stabs. They get next to the freaking window.
No, yeah, because he breaks the window
pen.
and he's gonna throw.
I don't know why he turns into like a hardcore vampire.
Throw Charlie out the window.
It's a sick vampire.
Charlie grabs a pencil out of his freaking little cup thing on the desk.
So his mom
stabs
hears
him in the
the
hand.
noise.
She wakes up and she's wondering what's going on, but she's locked in in her room, so you just hear her yelling in the background like, "Oh, Charlie, what's going on?"
No, she shows up not after he leaves, and then that's when they talk, and she's just, "Oh, it's okay, Mom. I just had a nightmare." So this doesn't make sense. Like he just keeps it to himself, even though he had suspicions that he was a vampire, and it came true.
Because he just saw him,
and now he doesn't want to say it.
And then he slowly changed back, and then he just busts out the room, ran out the door.
He'd be like, he's a fucking serial killer.
And then his mom's like, he's like, "Are you okay? Are you sure?" And then she's like, "You want a Valium?" And he's like, "No, Mom.
Nah, I'm just gonna go to bed sober, like Eric Vierthaler
or Nate Dunning." So then freaking he goes to bed sober, doesn't take a Valium, and then he cuts to freaking the next day.
Oh, then no. Later that night, Jerry calls him on the phone.
Oh yeah, no. It cuts, because it cuts back to him just going back to bed, and the phone rings, and
the vampire show's playing,
and he's freaking looking out the window at the vampires next door at his window.
Car, so don't fuck with me.
Yeah, he looks out the window, and it's freaking him on the phone looking at him from across the way because they're both the rooms are upstairs. It's tight.
So then it cuts to the next day.
And he's all scared.
Oh, so then he goes to the only person that'll believe him, Peter Vincent, even though he's just an overpaid actor.
Yeah, because after he hangs up on the phone.
And this is when
after he hangs up on the phone, he's looking at the TV, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
The show got canceled. This scene is really tight, and the dialogue's awesome. So anyway, he meets up with Peter Vincent at the studio, and he's like, apparently, no, and he's just like, yeah, my show got canceled because you're the only. He's like, okay, you're a fan of me. You're the only one because all these 80s kids just like to watch all these demented serial killers.
It's not what he says actually, but I'll say it for you.
Okay, what did you say then, douche?
He said, your generation just likes to see demented madmen hacking up young virgins. That's what he said.
Yeah, I was gonna say that until you cut me off.
Nah, first off, it was my line.
Who cares?
Okay, cool. Hey, who cares? He's the faggot. I'm the asshole.
Alright, I'm a fag.
Anyway, so he goes he watches the freaking the show, the vampire guy. So he goes the next morning to see him.
No, and he's like, I have a vampire next door to me. He's like, and then Vincent just drives off, like blowing him off. Of course, he's just like, whatever.
Because he asks him, he's like, "Don't you believe in vampires?" And he's like, "Yes." But then freaking he gets to his car and he's like, "No, I was joking. I was lying." He's like, "I don't believe in this." And he's like, "You don't want an autograph? Just get out my fucking face."
So then it cuts to Charlie, and he's like building a shrine of candles and crosses, and there's just, all the grips just set it up, and the set decorators did it. And anyway, he's just in there like whittling away a freaking cross and stakes.
He's like, you're the only one that believes, because if there was more people like you, my ratings would be better. And he's talking to him, This shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And he plans to kill... No, he's just like, I'm gonna kill Jerry in his sleep.
Yeah, no.
And that's when the two other actors, his friends...
No, it cuts back to him at his house after he talks to the freaking actor, Vincent guy. And and it shows freaking his friend walking up, and it's freaking his girlfriend on the freaking 80s moped, just showing up simultaneously. Like, what are you doing here?
So then they don't believe him, of course.
We're going to see freaking Charlie. So they go upstairs, and his room's like all crosses and candles.
Oh, and then he's just like, I'll be dead before midnight.
And he's got like literally like 50 or 100 sharpened stakes, like wooden stakes on his bed.
And he's like, you can't murder a vampire. They're already dead.
Oh. It's a pretty tight line.
Oh, then Nate Dunning, Evil Nate's just like, Evil Ed's just like, this is just like Fright Night. Oh.
It's pretty tight. No, then Evil Ed's looking out the window.
And then there's another TV broadcast of another dead prostitute or whatever.
Evil Ed's like, so you're telling me some vampire's just going through sucking everybody in town? And then he's looking out the window and he's like, it wouldn't be that much of a...
So they're like, okay, if it means something to you, we'll go to Peter Vincent for you then, okay? And he's just like, what could be more... Oh, then they go to him and he's just like... And that's when he's just like, man... I'm not at work at... No, he tries to play it off like he's still got the job and he's still a big shot. And he's just like, what could be more important than my autograph? And she's like, prostitutes dying? I don't know. She's like, I'll give you $500 of my life savings if you just do it. And he's just like, I'll take it. Like an American picker, like when they'll like offer money and they'll just be like, snap, take it. And he just like, snap, took it. Because he was getting evicted out of his house or whatever.
Anyway, so they're talking to him. And
so then Nate calls Jerry. Evil Ed calls Jerry to prove that he's...
Alright, you're cutting all the lines, you faggot.
Say the lines. Jump in.
You're a total butthole.
I know you're just gonna say...
Wow.
Yeah, say it. You aren't even saying anything.
He's freaking now, because freaking she's telling... Evil Ed's telling him, he's like, yeah, he's in love with the creeper. Talking about that she's in love with Charlie, the one who believes, that there's a vampire next to her. And then freaking... So then they make a deal, freaking... She's like, come on, help me out. She's like, I'll pay you.
Yeah, they make the deal, so then they make him call.
Bond. He's like, I'll take it.
So they make Evil Ed call Jerry to prove he's not a vampire, and he's just like, oh, come on, just touch this cross, or what? No, they're like, hey, ask him if he'll drink some holy water.
No, before they get on the phone though, Evil Ed's like, dude, he's like, come on, we gotta get some kind of proof, you can do it just like in the scene of Orgy of the Dead. He's like, yeah, use like that scene.
Like,
let's make him do something.
Movie, you moron.
He's like, come on, we could still do it though to make him believe or make him.
So then it cuts to the next day. All four of them
show up at
Peter Vincent. They go to Jerry's house
at
night.
They go to the vampire's house. They get invited in by his freaking boyfriend or something. We don't even know who he is. It's just his friend, the other guy that lives with the vampire.
Oh, so they're all meeting him or whatever, and then Jerry walks in and he sees Amy, who's ugly as shit.
Hold up, no,
he looks at her and it's like love at first sight. No, let me say this.
While they're on the phone talking to the vampire, it's like a scene from Back to the Future, and it's like all the it's all the clocks on the freaking all ringing at the same time.
Yeah, you could have just said that. He has all the clocks, and it's
I'm sorry,
to remind him that it's at night.
It's like a total butthole.
Keep up.
Go on.
No, so it's like love at first sight looking at his ugly girlfriend, even though he's been alive forever.
Yeah,
he hasn't seen a hotter bitch than that.
And
we find out later.
He kisses her hand, and she's like, oh, he's interesting.
Like, he hasn't seen a hotter bitch, even though we find out that, it looked like his ex-lover or whatever.
Yeah, later on, but go on.
So then none of them believe he's a vampire after they make him drink holy water.
And freaking,
I guess Peter Vincent probably didn't even get it blessed. He probably just came there with like prop holy water from Hollywood.
It wasn't even blessed because he told him it could just be regular tap water. That's what made him freaking want to do it in the first place. That's why the vampire agreed to it. So freaking, they go there and freaking.
So then the main character Charlie's like, all right, if you're not a vampire, then touch this. And it's the freaking cross.
And freaking, he's like, and then Vincent is just like, he's like, no, he already proved it. And they're starting to walk out, and freaking the vampire's like, oh, okay, good.
Then he goes up to Evil Ed, Nate Dunning, and he's just like, I've seen your YouTube videos. We share the same interests in horror and the occult. To Ed, and it's like a tight line.
No, the vampire's like, yeah, he also called the cops on me, and freaking, he's like, damn sure I did, freaking Charlie. But anyway, so they start to walk out, and Vincent freaking looks in his freaking cigarette mirror pack, and freaking sees in the mirror that freaking he's not, he doesn't have a reflection.
Oh yeah.
And so Vincent, as they're walking out, they're leaving, he notices and he freaking realizes that
He
he is a
breaks the
vampire.
mirror, so then they go out there, and Charlie notices that
That he got spooked, that Vince got spooked, and he's like, "Hey, what'd you see?"
I know you believe me. Come
He's
on,
like, "What'd you notice?"
What'd you see?
And he gets in his
So
car.
Peter
and he's
Vincent
like,
just drives off like, yeah.
no, he tells him, he's like, he didn't cast a reflection in my mirror. And then he drives off, and he's like, well, you gotta help, and he just drives off.
Oh, then it's just the 3 young kids in high school left.
Yeah.
Walking. No, and he's just like, where are you going, pencil dick? To Nate Dunning.
Shit's hilarious. Yeah,
and then
like,
this is when they go to the dark
away.
alley
He's
scene.
like, no, we freaking
No,
walk.
and it's just like...
He's like, we walk Amy home first.
Yeah, and you'd be like, it's your ugly girlfriend, you deal with her. And he's just like, no, they go to a dark alley, and it's just like comedy filler, like, with Evil Ed's character.
Yeah, before they get to the alleyway, he's like, because he wants to take the shortcut down the alleyway, and he's like, no, we stay in the light, where there's people at. And he's like, oh, come on, man.
And he's like, there's no such things as vampires.
They don't exist.
Fruitcake.
He's like, when are you going to get that through your thick head?
And then they start playing the 80s
and he's like,
electric...
he's like, if you're wrong, do you still want to go down that alleyway? He's like, what if he is a vampire?
Then they go to the 80s electric guitar solo.
And he's like, fuck you, Brewski.
80s electric guitar solo, and then Ed runs into like a dead end, even though he knows the alleyway better. And it's a total movie
He
set.
goes down there, he walks by himself, and he fakes getting bit, so they run down there because they hear him scream. They go down there, and then freaking it cuts to the 80s rock beat, and freaking, because we see the vampire, freaking Jerry shows up, freaking like behind him, and starts following him, and then freaking he sees a shadow from around the corner, and he's like, oh, what the... And then he sees that it's him, and he thinks it's his friends coming to play a joke on him. He's like, hey, if that's you guys, I'm not scared. But then he sees that it's Jerry, the guy out there, thinking is a vampire. So then he runs,
he pulls out
to the
his
dead end.
vampire. He's like, take my
and the grips are blowing the fog
800-year-old vampire hand. And he grabs his hand, and he's just
he's freaking... He's like, I'm not
gonna
hurt you. He's like, I'm gonna make it so that bullies
he's like, you don't
don't
have to be a word. He's like, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. You think he's sweet talking him to kill him or whatever.
No, and then
then they cut away from the death, and he screams.
Picks up
and
his
you're like, oh
80s,
man! If you're seeing it for the first time, you're like, oh man!
He takes his 80s jacket and freaking like hugs him with it. And
his trench coat.
His trench coat covers him, and it's like so retired. So you think that he got killed, but you don't know. But you hear him scream, and it cuts back.
Then Amy
cuts
and
back
Charlie.
to Amy and Charlie, and they're like, you think he's just playing another joke? And Charlie's like, no, we gotta go check it out.
Yeah, then the lights start going out in the alleyway also, and it's pretty sweet, eerie.
So then they take off
feel,
and get more into
style.
town where it's freaking the nightclubs and everybody's out on the street. But then they see Jerry following them, so they run to like a back of a restaurant.
Yeah, then they go into the club, and before they go to the club scene, Evil Ed shows up at Peter Vincent's house. And that's when he turned into a vampire. So we figure out that Jerry turned Ed into a vampire, and you're like, oh, and it's a pretty sweet scene.
Yeah, it shows up so Evil Ed shows up at the freaking TV guy's house, a vampire freaking slayer.
He's like, I used to admire you.
He's like, but you're a total fake.
And then he burns the cross on his freaking Nate Dunning dome.
Yeah, he freaking puts the cross on, burns him, and then freaking
and
then he's getting burned so much,
and
he's telling him to get back, and he's telling him to get back. So then freaking Eddie jumps out the window, he jumps out of the sugar glass window, like.
So then Peter Vincent is convinced, finally, of course. So then it goes to the infamous 80s club scene.
And then it cuts back to the club, and
they're playing some sweet music.
And Jerry's, no, not Jerry. So freaking Charlie's like, it cuts back to him at the club, and he's just like, I just got off the phone with them. The cops don't believe me. And then freaking the music's playing, and then she just walks away while he's trying to get a hold of other people or something while he's still on the phone. And freaking, she sees Jerry out in the crowd, but also it shows him at the top deck part though.
All right, we're gonna go to part 3, talk about this club scene and then the whole ending.
Come back to that freaking
Fright
part
Night,
3, Fright Night, the original 1985 in-depth horror discussion.
Mr. Creepshow 9 JBM
2005.